Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to ReGen Civics, which is a growing group of humans, organizations, and land-based projects, communities, eco-villages, all those things, who are on a mission to grow the diversity of regenerative realities. And what does that actually mean? There's this beautiful quote, and it's, when a complex system is far from equilibrium, i.e. today's civilization, small islands of coherence in this sea of chaos. So these are small communities have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. Now, this quote comes from a Nobel laureate who was talking about how complex systems operate. And in all sorts of different complex systems, this holds true. So this is really what we're trying to do here throughout ReGen Civics, is to create and co-create these small islands of coherence, which is what we're calling land-based projects. Okay, so today's map is going to keep things pretty high level and to the point. There's a lot of other videos that get really into the details and weeds, but I just really wanted to introduce what ReGen Civics is, give a high-level summary, talk about how you can claim historical contributions if you've already been part of this movement, and talk about how existing organizations, if you're part of one, or existing land-based projects, or future land-based projects, might be able to join this alliance. So let's get into it. What do I mean by land-based projects? Let's skip this animation. A few years ago, we ran an incubator with these 13 different projects, walking through a process of helping them create regenerative economic systems, and what we like to call games. So it's really, how does this land-based project operate? How do people participate in? How do people meet their needs? How do we co-create a regenerative reality, right? So it's a big part of the ReGen Civics Alliance, is helping land-based projects like these get started and thrive and create alternative realities together. And we'll get way more into detail and all of this stuff in future videos like I talked about. Okay, so how do we help them? We have a whole bunch of alliance partners that are providing different tools, resources, perspectives, and all sorts of different things that land-based projects need in order to thrive. And if you want to know more about these organizations, again, look forward to future videos. But the real idea is, when ReGen Civics got started, there's a bunch of members from each of these organizations, and we came together and we said, how do we coordinate the systemic regeneration of our Earth? Each one of us was working on one perspective of that, but we weren't able to really, collaborate and cohere the way we needed to shift the system. And the best analogy I've always come up with is it's kind of like birthing a baby. One organization is kind of like one organ. And when a baby has one organ ready, when the heart is ready and beating, it's not time to birth the baby yet. If you do, that baby's probably going to die. Have a stillbirth, right? So what we really needed was to collaborate amongst all our different organizations to create a whole ecosystem. Just like a baby is an ecosystem of all the different organs and cells and everything that make us who we are, right? We needed to create that. So that's what ReGen Civics set out on a journey to do, is to create this ecosystem of organizations who are aligning to support land-based projects and this transition to regenerative realities, right? Okay, so what does that actually look like? So ReGen Civics is what you see over here. It's an alliance of all these different organizations that I just showed you. Another big thing that we're trying to take on is, how do we raise funds together? Because we found out that each one of our organizations was taking entirely way too much time on fundraising, and we were telling an impartial story. So each one of the organs had to make an individual pitch on how they were going to generate revenue and why it was a good investment for investors and all of this stuff, which doesn't quite make sense if we're trying to create an ecosystem. Again, in the analogy of a human, it's kind of like the organ having to pitch the whole body to give resources to just that organ, without the context and awareness that there's all the other organs in the body. That's what makes it successful. So it was an impartial story when each one of our organizations was trying to raise funds. It was really risky for investors. Sometimes they didn't have a good business model. For example, organizations that were focused on storytelling, their business model is just about advertisement and stuff, and a lot of those business models are breaking. But an ecosystem needs storytelling. But if the organization who's focused on storytelling isn't expected to generate revenue for itself, but is instead telling stories for the whole ecosystem, where other organizations were more focused on generating revenue, then all of a sudden it started to make sense. All right. So real brief, again, if you want more details on exactly how this works, there's future videos on that. The organizations came together to say, great, let's create an alliance where we're all working together. And then we can have one token that we can then pitch investors on. And then that token kind of becomes a token index. So instead of investors investing into just one organization, now they're investing into all of the organizations, right? So that's how we got started. And they were like, okay, well, what are we actually doing? Well, we're supporting land projects. So then growing this alliance is now land projects that are connected to land. So now this token isn't just the organizations in the alliance. Now it's also all the land projects and the land that they're on and the regeneration of that land that's happening, right? So now this token that we're all being represented by is an index of all of our organizations, all of our land projects, and all the land that those projects are on top of, right? Because the big idea was there's a lot of money wanting to go towards systemic change. But this money, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So, for example, when people have like $500 billion in order to invest into, solving a lot of humanity's crises right now, it goes into really ridiculous things like carbon capture machines and things like that. Because there isn't really ecosystems that you can get that money to land projects and support them in the way they need to be supported. So this is really what we set out to do, is how do we create that alliance of organizations who are supporting those land projects, and you kind of get the whole story, right? So that was the big idea, is that investors can come in and say, hey, I want to invest into this whole ecosystem. Then those resources go into the ecosystem, and then they get distributed out to the organizations that need it, to the land projects that are getting started. And when we invest into land projects, then those land projects give tokens and shares, if they're a legal entity, right, back to the alliance. So then the alliance, as it continues to invest into more land projects, has more and more land and more organizations and resources under the alliance. And this is how we get away from individual land ownership, because now when you join the alliance, now all of a sudden you're a part of all of these land projects and all of these organizations, right? It's not just each land project out for itself, which is another really big part of this story. Is land projects were each also trying to pitch investors just for that land project. But the problem is that land projects have a huge failure rate, especially if they don't have an ecosystem that's there to support them, right? So it was a really risky investment proposal, right? Also, it creates a lot of problems when one land project has large investors who have a lot of say on how that project is operating. That creates a lot of tensions. And the inverse is also true, where oftentimes those investors, they don't feel like an equal member in that community. They feel like they have way more at stake, or maybe they're just there for their money, etc. So it creates a lot of tensions in those communities. So that's another reason the alliance got set up, is to say, actually, those investors can invest in the whole alliance, which is a better investment for them. It's more safe because now they're investing into a lot of projects and a lot of land, right? And a lot of the organizations there to help those projects and land, right? And then the alliance is who invests into the land project. And then the final piece here, and we'll get into a lot of details on this in future videos, is the alliance is equally governed by all the organizations and projects. So every organization who's part of the alliance and every land project who's part of it has an equal say in governance. So everyone who's accepted into the alliance gets a whole bunch of different voice tokens. We'll get into what those mean in a second. So that we all have an equal say on governance proposals. So when an investment comes in, then it's the organizations and the land projects who are collectively using our intelligence to say, where do we direct these funds? What organizations are best needing these funds right now to support the whole, so that we start acting like a whole ecosystem rather than a bunch of individual projects out for our own. We start looking like a whole movement out to support the whole. So this is the mission that, ReGen Civics is on. It's a pretty vast mission. That's why we've been at this for, 4 years and counting at this point. I'm talking about in 2013 to get to this point where I'm actually ready to introduce people to this alliance. So there's a lot that's kind of got into creating the foundations needed for this story to hold true. Okay, so let's keep going. So then when we have all of those organizations in our alliance, the big thing that we're working on creating is an incubator. So just like today, where we have incubators for startups that are creating some business for markets, etc., now we need to create an incubator for these land-based projects that go through the same thing. What is your business model? How do you coordinate together? How are you going to create the regeneration and impact that land needs? You know, how to create a sustaining economy and ecosystem, etc. And we like to summarize all of this into a simple concept to say we're helping land projects create their game. So that's kind of how we're looking at it, is each land project has a game, meaning people can come together and play that game. And that game is all about something. And that something could be a lot of different things. But generally speaking, in this alliance, that something is connected to regenerating the land, healing the land, which is then increasing the value of that land, which is then underpinning the whole alliance, is really land and the regeneration of that land. That's what creates a foundation for all of this and for all life on our planet. So that's really the main foundation for a lot of these games, is healing the land and healing the members of all the people who are coming together to play these games. But how we do that is we need to very practically create the economies for how we go about meeting our needs. So that's what you actually see over here, is we have this method for then accounting for all the different contributions that make a society successful. So what you see here is financial capital is just one of those things. You know, it's not the whole story, and that's not the whole story we care about. Because the big unlock we're unleashing here is the ability to recognize all the diverse contributions that projects need to succeed instead of just money. And there's a whole video dedicated to exactly this if you want to dive into it. But in simple form, the concept is projects don't just need money. You know, what they actually need is land and people willing to give their time and materials and resources and knowledge and cultural wisdom, etc. There's so much that projects need to succeed besides just money. But a lot of projects are stuck on this idea that, well, we got this idea and now we need money in order to execute it. So part of the alliance is unlocking all the different forms of capital that are available in our movement, helping coordinate those resources towards creating a growing diversity of regenerative realities. So hopefully this wasn't too much. I'm trying to go quick to simplify this video. But that's the general idea behind an incubator, is helping projects come up with their game so they can pool all the resources they need in order to thrive and succeed. And yeah, we'll keep going. And this is just a slide talking about the current situation today, is people are just tired of the old game. Tons of burnout, tons of illness, people resigning and quitting. They're ready for a new game. We're ready for a new game. We're ready for a new reality because we've seen the Monopoly game is over. And that's really what ReGen Civics is about, is what are those new games? We don't know. We're not even proposing that there is one new game. Definitely not. That's why it's a growing diversity of regenerative realities, is there's a growing diversity of different types of games that we can play, right? I'm going to try to summarize this game in just 5 main points. Then I'm going to talk about the different ways to play this infinite game, and then I'll give you some examples and actually show you how to do it and how to actually walk through the wall and all the tools and all the stuff to play this infinite game. So the first main point being, we're here to co-create a growing diversity of regenerative realities. That's the main overarching point, and it is the point. We're here to create a growing diversity of regenerative realities. So it's our reality and how we live life on this planet and create together and make life together and make love together and raise our families together and grow our feed together and all of these things, right? That is the main point of this game. Okay. So there's a couple other bullet points here, and it's so hard to try to narrow it down, so bear with me. The first bullet point is we're here to obsolete Moloch. And if you haven't heard of this term, it's a term that's been around for thousands of years. And in short order, it's the god of game theory, if you will, that's been manipulating humans to kill each other and kill our planet. So it's these incentives, these perverse incentives that make it so it's more profitable to poison a waterway than it is to clear and clean that waterway. And all of the million examples of this. If you want, please search this term. There's tons of epic videos of really smart people really diving into the details of Moloch. We're here to obsolete that construct that is manipulating humans to harm ourselves. The second one is to unite fundraising and resource pooling efforts. So right now, there's an enormous amount of effort and energy going into each one of our projects and organizations trying to raise funds for that individual project. So an enormous amount of time wasted that could otherwise be spent doing all the things that we actually want to do and need to do to make this regenerative reality possible, right? Further, it's to decrease the amount of conflict that's generated from those power imbalances when a single project or organization has a large investor that then feels like they're only there for their money, and or they have an extra power, or they have so much more at stake than everyone else, etc. So having communities that start off with massive power imbalances at the get-go is always a problem. So we needed to solve that challenge as well. The third one is avoiding premature births. So to explain this a little bit more, incomplete ecosystems rarely survive in the real world. So if a baby is born with just a heart and none of the other organs are working, it's not going to survive. And we can think of our ecosystems, so our movements, they require a lot. They require organs that are doing the storytelling, they're doing the resource pooling, they're doing the actual building of tools, etc. So in a community, you can look at it as who's growing the food, who's building the houses, who's providing the healthcare for the community, etc. So each one of these is kind of like an organ for each one of the ecosystems that are trying to accomplish various tasks. But in our, market-based societies, it's always about reducing that. And you just be one organ and you just focus on yourself, and then you need to figure out a business model for just yourself. And the analogy here is what we see as cancer. When a cell thinks it's an isolated unit in the body just out for its own gain and try to pull resources just for itself without thinking of the whole, without collaborating with the whole, we call those things tumors, we call that cancer, and it kills the ecosystem. So we're trying to avoid the premature births and the problems that result from not having complete ecosystems of organizations that need to, effectively coordinate to accomplish our shared goals, right? And along with that is this ecosystem is here to create a bridge. So there's like a 90% plus failure rate of intentional communities, eco-villages, people who are trying to exit the dominant games and create new ones, massive failure rate. Because there's not a lot of bridges that are supporting that process of creating new realities and stepping out of the dominant reality. So ultimately, that's what we're here to do, is to create that bridge. It's getting super mainstream today, the realization and understanding that our current games are fundamentally broken. And there's a lot of resources that want to support systemic change. But there's not a lot of ecosystems or groups that are capable of stewarding large investments. So how could we create an ecosystem that can effectively take in 500 billion? How are you taking 500 billion today if you don't have an ecosystem of 10,000 land-based projects where you can give $1 million each to? We can't really effectively distribute 500 billion without ecosystems. So we're trying to create that ecosystem that creates a bridge to new realities so that we can co-create growing diversity of regenerative realities. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's one way of summarizing all of this. All right, now we're going to jump into how do we actually play the game. So the first and easiest way to play the game, so you've got the two axes here, it's a game. I like calling these all games because life is a game. That doesn't mean they're not serious. These are very serious games. So the axes you have here is one side, the easy mode, then you got your hard mode over here. You got your low dedication, where you can just kind of show up when you want to, versus high dedication at the top, which is kind of like a full-time job, right? All right, so what's the easiest, lowest dedication way of playing the game with ReGen Civics? It's to do our quests. So ReGen Civics is putting together this kind of like rites of passage initiatory process that's really designed to help us become the best players in this infinite game that we can be. So they're designed to heal us, to help us go through a process of really understanding who we are and coming to wholeness, and becoming the people we want to be in this new reality that we're creating. So to give you a couple examples, part of this quest journey will be learning about nonviolent communication and demonstrating that and practicing it. because nonviolent communication is a process that helps us communicate more effectively with each other that isn't part of the empire language. So a lot of the empires today, the language is designed to be very violent. It tends to create a lot of conflict just by the nature of how we communicate with each other. So learning different ways to communicate, we can dramatically reduce the levels of conflict that we have. So that would be, one example of a quest you'd go through. Another one, which is the first quest, is all about healing your gut. And that's a fun quest. I love it, but long story short, it involves, getting a whole bunch of probiotics from ancient forests and helping integrate those into our beings and integrate the consciousness of all of those organisms that are in forests into our beings. It's literally potion making. Yeah, we're gonna have so much fun doing the quests. So quests are these little quests. I guess they're quests. So quests are quests where we go through a process of accomplishing something, and then by doing that we can earn some tokens, and those tokens are a share of ReGen Civics. So anytime you're doing anything and you're playing the game, you're earning a share of this organization. And why that makes sense for us is because we literally want to pay our community, which is you who is watching this, part of the organization's resources to better yourself if you're going to be part of this, because it makes sense to invest in you, invest in us, because the better we are, the more effective we can accomplish whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. So truly our most important thing we're trying to do here is to untap and unlock the godly abilities that we all have within us, that when we come together, a whole group of gods coming together to co-create reality together, what we can manifest it's beyond our wildest imagination, because it'll be our collective imagination. It can't even be held in one person's imagination, because when we come together in a community of gods creating reality, it's gonna be so freaking beautiful. So that is what the Quest series is all designed for. It's helping us untap our godly abilities and become the people we want to be in these new realities that we're creating. And that'll make a lot more sense as you start playing the quest. So I'll give you some examples here in a minute. But the next way, we're moving over here, it's a little bit harder mode over here, is to claim your historical and current contributions to ReGen Civics. Now, this was the lovely one, because for those who have been following on the SEEDS journey up until now, if not, don't worry about this. This is open for everyone. But if you have been contributing to SEEDS up until now, and you haven't got tokens in another DAO, but you're part of this mission that we're on right here to create a growing diversity of regenerative realities, and that's why you've joined SEEDS, and that's why you've been contributing to it, then we're going to say that's a historical contribution, and you can come in and claim tokens. Because the parallel is that Hypha, which helped set up SEEDS in the beginning, the people who are contributing to Hypha were getting both Hypha and SEEDS tokens. But people who just contributed to SEEDS only got SEEDS. Now, we're fixing this in a lot of different organizations, so it's not just ReGen Civics. SEEDS Collaboratory and other DAOs are getting set up that are going to be able to recognize these contributions as well. But if you're focused on ReGen Civics missions here and helping create a growing diversity of regenerative realities, then I'd encourage you to come to our DAO, and I'll show you how right after this, and claim your historical contributions. Also, you can claim your current contributions. And this isn't just if you've been contributing to SEEDS. If you've been contributing to the Regenerative Renaissance, which is a much larger movement that's about co-creating a growing diversity of regenerative realities, I'm going to keep saying that because it's important, because that's what we're doing. And you've already been doing that. Say you've been making a bunch of templates for eco-villages, and you've been working tirelessly on this because you know these eco-villages are epic and you really want to make it simple for people. That's a contribution, and maybe you haven't been recognized for it, but maybe you want to open source those templates you've been making and give them to the movement. Well, we want to recognize you for those templates. Maybe you've been building software and tools. Maybe you've got a bunch of knowledge base. Maybe you got a bunch of materials. You're a contractor and you have all this equipment, and you want to be able to, open it up to our movement to be able to use to build villages with. Maybe you have a 3D printer for using hempcrete to build super domes, and you want to contribute that to the movement. There's so many different contributions you can make to the movement that's going to support the whole movement. And if you are making these contributions, then you can earn some tokens for that. All right, let's keep flowing. And I'll give you examples of this and actually show you the DAO next. So a much higher dedication way of playing this game, still on hard mode over here, is to join an existing organization, village, or project. So that's what we're creating here is an alliance of these organizations and villages. A lot of them are looking for new members to come and create with. You can find one, and if it aligns with you, awesome. You can actually join them and start living a new reality and creating with them, right? Or let's say you're already with an existing organization, village, or project that's part of the regenerative renaissance. You've been part of this journey. Well, then you can join the alliance, and I'll give you, again, examples of how to actually do this next. And the final way here is to catalyze. So say you didn't find an organization that you want to join, and you aren't part of an existing organization, but you're loving this, and you have a lot of dedication, a lot of energy, because catalyzing something is really difficult. It's the highest dedication, hardest thing that you can do in this movement. And that's where you're going to be holding space for creating a new organization in the movement or a new project. So you're the one that's going to hold the vision, pull all the people together, help resource it, and hold the space for that new reality to emerge. And that is what our incubator process is about, is helping those who want to catalyze these new realities to go through that process of what it actually means to be able to pull that off successfully. Or at least that's what we're going to keep working on, right? Okay, so that's the hardest way. Actually, there is one more way. Well, I lied, and this one's pretty simple. And it's with our organization partner, Local Scale. And this is, all right, a lot of this is crazy, it's interesting, okay, but you're just a massage therapist and that's really all you want to focus on. Or maybe you're just growing food and that's your contribution to the movement. Awesome. You don't have to do all of these other things. Maybe you can just join Local Scale and start offering your services to your bioregion, and then help support all of the villages and projects and all of our tokens and all of this stuff by saying, yep, I'm going to bring my resources, my gifts to this movement. And that is what Local Scale is all about. So, why people are questing and going through their claims and giving all these resources to the movement, and we're giving out tokens. Well, that's great if we just have tokens. But what can we do with these tokens? So tokens don't mean anything unless we can do stuff with them. So that's where trading is so vital and important, is we need a whole movement of people. And once we have a whole movement of people, then we can meet all of our needs with these new tokens. And now we're not dependent on, this weird empire currency anymore, right? And that's where we have true freedom, is when we're not dependent on the old systems anymore to meet our needs. In order to do that, we need entire marketplaces set up where we can buy all of our food, get all of our housing, and get all of our needs met, right, with each other. So that's a lot. So in quick summary, you can play quests and up-level yourself and heal. And I encourage everyone go on this, because this is your way of kind of getting invited into the movement, and this is what it's designed for. And it's a really simple, beautiful way of doing it. You can claim your historical and current contributions to the movement. You can join existing organizations, villages, and projects, which there's a lot of. You can set up a new one, or you can just bring your resources and your gifts and your talents to the movement and offer them up. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can play the game. It's really fun. Now I'm going to actually show you the DAO and how you can do all of this. So I'll take you there. All right, so if you click on the link below and you go to the DAOs, you see all the different organizations. So a lot of these are already part of the ReGen Civics Alliance. So you see some like ReGen Living, for example. But anyway, you have ReGen Civics Alliance right here. You can click on this. And this is where you're going to see a snapshot of everything that's going on. And we are just getting started, so we only have 20 members with no assignments and no proposals that have been passed. So we're just getting started, hence why I'm making this video, because this is the invitation for us to all come play this game. So if you're not already a member, then you're going to have a button up here that says become a member. You click on that, and that applies for your membership. Now, if you're completely new to all of this, not to worry, you can join our Discord. There's a link below, and you can come introduce yourself, and you can get an invitation to the wallet. And you can get your own account set up and make new friends and say hello. So, not to worry, I mean, this video is made for new people, so don't be like, oh my gosh, I haven't been a part of this, like, I can't participate. Absolutely not. That's the opposite of what I'm trying to accomplish here, because I'd love to play with a lot more epic, beautiful, incredible humans who are on this journey together. So, once you already have your wallet and you're ready to go, then come click that apply to be member button up there. And then when you do, you're going to come to the proposals section. And this is where I have a bunch of examples of what types of proposals you would be able to make. And I just made these today, right before the video. So I'm going to walk through that first one. It talked about a historical contribution, right? So this is a really basic one, and this is for people who have already been on this journey. But let's say you love seeds, you're about that, and you bought a bunch of seeds back in the day. So seeds have been around since 2017. It's been a super long journey, and I really want to recognize those people who have been on this super long journey. So that's what this is about. If you've bought seeds, or you've contributed to seeds in some other way that's been aligned with this mission, this would be an example walkthrough for you. So you could put the description, and you could say, you know, I bought seeds through the seed sale. You would put in your account name that you have. You put in the US dollar value at the time when you purchased them. So this is to make it really fair for everyone. Is it saying how much dollars did you spend on seeds? We're going to recognize that as a contribution. So this is kind of like our airdrop to the seeds community too, to recognize where we've come from, because we've only got to this point because of the seeds community and all the wisdom and the beautiful people and the tools that have been built in that movement, etc., is why we're here. So this is our way of saying thank you to the seeds community as well. Then you're going to put here is an on-chain proof of purchase. If you don't know how to visit the chain, then you can actually follow this example. Click here. I'll walk you through that. So you can click here, then you can put in your account name up here. It'll take you to your account name, and then you can see all the different tokens you have and the history of everyone you've sent tokens to and everything you've done in your wallet, which, depending on who you are, could be a lot of stuff. So you'd be able to go there and actually find it. And this is where we have proof that actually you did buy seeds and that you haven't sold them. So if you bought seeds and you sold them, it disqualifies you from claiming a historical contribution. And also, you have to claim that you have not received equitable compensation from any other DAO. So if you were part of Hypha and you received Hypha tokens already for your contributions to seeds, then it disqualifies you for an additional airdrop for ReGen Civics. So this is just people who contributed to seeds directly but didn't get tokens in any other DAO. Okay, so that's pretty simple. If you've done that, then you can come and claim a historical contribution. But let's say it wasn't actual dollars. It was you wrote a smart contract, or you built a bot, or you wrote an article or made a video, or you've contributed in some other way that you feel like was valuable, then I highly encourage you to come here and say so and just put up a proposal. So actually what happens is when you make a proposal, it goes into a staging mode. And then in staging, people can come here and comment on it. So I just recommend to come here and make something, and then I'd be able to come in here and actually leave some comments and be like, hey, maybe this proposal doesn't belong here, or maybe it does, or maybe the amount you requested is too high or too low, or whatever, right? So it'd come here and give you feedback on how to evolve your proposal. So no pressure. And then when you feel like it's ready, you can actually publish it and put it up for voting for the DAO. Okay, so that's how you can claim a historical contribution. So let's get another example of a contribution. So I gave you that eco-village design templates idea. So this is how you might claim that. You'd come in here and say, hey, I made these templates. Here's my link to those templates that I want to contribute to the community. And, I'm requesting, $55,000 worth. And then again, people can come here and give some comments and say, hey, I love that. I think you should put it up for proposal or whatever. Also, as we're making these proposals and we're linking it all here, we're having a record of all of the assets and tools and resources we have in our community. And it's all being stored on chain, which is really cool because it's a decentralized database that's not going to get destroyed anytime soon, hopefully, unless a solar flare comes along and then whatever. All the technology goes away anyway. So this is what we're doing. We're creating a record of all the different contributions we have in our community. So please make your proposals really short and sweet and to the point, which is why I've given you these examples of just how to bullet point make them, right? Okay, let's keep going. Now, this is what it would look like to have a DAO alliance. So I'm going to give you an example of an existing alliance member, which is local scale. So you put a link to your DAO, which does not have to be a Hypha DAO. So we have a partnership with Hypha where we can make DAOs there, so you're welcome to. But also you can use DAO tooling on any other blockchain or wherever you want to make your DAO. So no problem. We're all decentralized here, so it's great. But just put a link to your DAO, and then a link to your website and further information, so whatever we can learn more about your organization and what you're up to. Then we're going to have an interoperability overview video. So this is a good example of the local scale one. I highly recommend checking this out if you want an example. But this is going to walk through how you've made your tools interoperable with the movement, because that's one of the main requirements, if you will, of being an Alliance member, is it means that you've made your tools accessible and available and interoperable with the existing Alliance, so that people that are part of this Alliance can actually use your organization and your tools and what you've got going on, right? And this would be a video of you actually going over that, saying, hey, these are our tools, this is how it's available to you. You know, maybe we're making it free for the Alliance members to be able to use, or what Local Scale has done is they've made it so that the tokens that we're issuing in our Alliance can actually be used in their marketplace, all without fees. It's really awesome. You can check out that video. And then just give a really short, ideally bullet point description of what it is that your organization is offering, what role it's playing in the ecosystem. So Local Scale's role is to coordinate bioregional economies, and then it lists all the different things that you can do with that tool set. So ideally, the proposals are really short and sweet like this, because then we can go through and look at all the different proposals and be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that this Alliance member was offering these things. And again, we can learn from each other, which is really what this process is all about. All right, I'll give you a couple more examples. I didn't actually make them all. Another one would be doing the quests. So I'll continue the proposal here. And actually, you get to see what it looks like to make a proposal. So when you come to make a proposal, all the ones we're doing right now are contributions. We'll get into a whole bunch of other stuff later and future videos, but right now we're just doing our initial contributions to start our DAO. So we can come down here, you can type in your contribution. Actually, it erased everything. I don't like that. Let me go back to my proposal and not erase everything. So I'll just go back to here. Okay. So in this example, you would say, I've completed quest 1, which was for potions. Yay, we're making magic, right? And again, I really want to simplify everything and do videos as much as possible, because then we can hear each other and see each other and create that community and that real connection rather than just reading stuff all the time. So I highly encourage you to just make videos every time you complete a quest. And then basically all you're putting in here is, here's a link to my video that's showed that I've completed the base brew. Here it is, here's my brew. I actually made it. Here's me drinking it. Here's what I learned about it, and then that's you completing that quest. And then in this particular quest, and it says in every one of the YouTube videos what to claim, but in this quest, you would claim 111 tokens, and you would do a custom reward. Because you're doing 111 tokens, 0 cash tokens. We're not paying cash out right now. We're just paying ReGen tokens. And then voice tokens. And for every time you complete a quest, you get 1 voice token. So the more quests you do, the more voice you have in the organization. Alliance organizations, and those who are representing an alliance or a project, have 1,111. So that's quite a lot more voice, because the alliance is really governed by the alliances and projects. But it's also partially governed by all the people doing quests. And if you end up doing 1,000 quests, then you have about the same amount of voice as, an alliance or project representative. So this way, as we grow our community, we're more and more decentralizing out decision-making to the whole community, but in a really slow and beautiful way. And of course, this is an infinite game, so all of this is subject to continue to evolve and change as we learn and adapt in. Of course, as the community comes and makes decisions and evolves this game, right? Okay, so that's a real quick summary of what ReGen Civics is, the different ways of playing the game. This was the first video. I'm going to try to make it really short and sweet, so I'm going to stop it right here. We'll make follow-up videos talking about way more stuff and how this organization works and a lot more details as we start unfolding this beautiful game and start playing it together. But I'll leave it at this for now. I love you all so much. I look forward to playing this game with you. And yeah, if you have any questions or if you run into any hurdles or problems or anything like that, feel free to leave comments below. and I'll hopefully be able to walk you through some of them. And also we'll have some follow-up Q&A videos and sessions going forward. But okay, beautiful people, that's everything. Love y'all. So what I've done is I've kind of reset everything. So when you come to the DAO for the first time, this is what it looks like. You're a guest. Then you have this login option. So I'm going to show you how to log in using your SEEDS account. So if you haven't got a SEEDS account yet, I highly recommend getting one. So go to any of the SEEDS community chats and ask for an invite, or connect with whoever told you about SEEDS and the movement and get an invite from them. And then when you do, you're going to be able to have a SEEDS wallet that looks like this. So you come here, you have your SEEDS, how many you've got, you can send and receive, etc. So come down to your profile, come to security, and right here where it says export private key, that's where you're going to be able to get your key that you can use to access the other applications in the ecosystem. But first, before you do that, I highly, highly, highly recommend setting up your key guardians. So that's 3 to 5 friends that you get to choose to be able to recover your keys should you lose them. So this gets rid of the horror stories where people are like, oh no, I've lost my keys, I've lost all my tokens. This way, if you lose your phone, you lose access to your account for some reason, then your friends and family can recover your key for you. So if you don't have 3 to 5 friends in the community yet, definitely go and make some, invite some of your friends and family in, whatever you got to do to make sure that you can recover your key. So it's really important. So, okay, so now you've clicked export private key and you have it. So when you get the Hypha wallet, and you can go to any of the app stores and get this wallet, no problem. You're going to click on the import account, click on that private key option, and then paste your private key into this. And then when you do that, you're going to be able to see your account here. Here's mine. I have a bunch of other accounts associated with this, but probably won't. You click that. And it's pretty basic, this wallet right now. It just has the scan QR function, and that's what we're going to use to log in. So now when we come back to this dashboard here, you click login, click that login again, click on the Hypha wallet login option. You see that QR code, scan it right here, slide that guy over right there. And now you see that that just worked. And the desktop just reacted. It knows I just signed in. There you go. So now this is how you can start signing all of your actions. When you're doing everything on your phone, it's really easy. It'll just bounce back and forth between the wallet and the app. When you're doing it on your desktop, you can use that scan QR option and scan things. So let me give you another example of it. Sign into my profile. It's going to want me to scan that QR code. So I click the scan QR code again, see it, slide it, and there you go. So this way, your private keys stay on your phone and stay super, super secure. And then if you have that key guardian option set up, you can always recover your keys. We put a lot of time and effort into making sure that it was super secure because we know how important all of this stuff is. So I know it seems a little bit weird having these different apps, having your keys there, but that's the nature of these decentralized systems that are, empowering you, is there isn't some company that can recover your account. That means it's entirely yours, just like your actual physical wallet with money. Should you lose that, it's kind of a challenge. But again, that's where the key guardians come in because we can actually recover your keys. So please make sure you're setting those up and making sure you're keeping your keys secure. And then how you do that is just don't ever take them off your phone. Once you have your SEEDS wallet and your Hypha wallet, you can use those tools to access everything and never give anyone your private key. No one needs that for any reason, so if they're asking for it, definitely don't give it to them. So hopefully that was helpful. We have these 2 different wallets to use for accessing the SEEDS ecosystem and all of this stuff. And that should make it so hopefully you don't have transactions failing when you're accessing the DO and the DAOs. But should they happen and they should fail, oftentimes just try again, and sometimes it works. That is the nature of building entirely new technology, and this is all cutting edge stuff. So there's still probably going to be some bugs. There's still a lot of kinks to kind of work out, and we're working through all of that and making our way. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you all around. Cheers.